When you ask somebody to put everything on the line, to go in there and do what nobody else can or will do, you've got to have assurances. And that's their job, is to give those assurances that they will protect you with the utmost of their ability. And then to just stupidly put out their information like this only emboldens and helps the enemy.
So Biden betrays America's Tier 1 force. My husband's here with me. He was part of that Tier 1 force, retired now from Delta Force. And I think it's very important that we discuss this because as Americans, we rely on our Tier 1 force to do the job that very few of us are willing to do. They're the tip of the spear, the front of the line on the battlefields that many of us don't know about, in places where you would have no concept that they would be operating because of the secrecy of their units and their operations in order to protect our nation from the worst of the worst, whether that's, terrorists planning an attack or rescuing hostages or whatever else those missions may be. And for so many of our men and women that serve our nation, what happened with President Biden and the White House was a complete betrayal. It was like, are you joking? WTF? What the hell? Like, everybody knows about operational security. And, you don't even need to brief the White House on this beforehand because they absolutely know this. They absolutely know that you cannot put a picture of Delta Force commandos or SEAL Team 6 commandos or CIA officers or anybody who has a highly classified job on the internet for the entire world to see for an entire hour. So that way the Chinese spies, okay, they take the picture down, but guess what? It's all over the world. It's all over the world. People have access to those photos now. They know the faces of the people there. And this is what Marty and I are going to talk about. I'm going to let my husband talk about, what that means, as a retired Delta Force and how that, so you can understand how that really affects them and their families and the security around the entire apparatus. And that is something that I think I think that the shock and awe of which has happened, I think that's something we can all agree on, that this should have never happened. And there's either complete idiots at the White House or they really just do not give and I would say the word, but I don't want this to be censored. They don't really give a crap, maybe, about what is happening. And as a spouse of a retired special operator, I want to take you inside that situation. And I want to explain why Delta Force and other special operators jealously hide their identity. They don't want other people to know. They're not big mouths. They don't talk about their operations. In fact, most of the time you can't get a Delta Force guy to say anything. So I'm very happy that my husband is here talking about this because I think it's important for you. You will get a lot of SEALs talking though, and we'll talk about that later. My husband and the SEAL team, they have a lot of things to say to one another. Hey folks, human super beats. We all have a heartfelt reason to support our blood pressure. In fact, more than half of the US population would benefit from blood pressure support paired with a healthy lifestyle. The antioxidants in Super Beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. I take Super Beets. My husband takes Super Beets, although he would say, like, if you don't give them to me, babe, I don't know where they're at because I love them so much. I'm always traveling with my Super Beets. We have 2 bags now. I have one in the fridge, which is going to be for my husband solely, and one that I use to travel with. Do you love them, babe?
I do love those.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, then they taste good.
Oh, yeah.
They taste good. I'm wondering, can you OD on Super Beets? I don't know because they taste so good.
The only thing about Super Beets, they got that little tin foil that I can't see and you can barely feel. When you forget to take it off, may have happened a couple times.
That's because he's blind, by the way. And that's my fault. That's my fault because I have to unwrap it. And sometimes I unwrap it and I trick you and you're like, oh, these are unwrapped. And the next time you get them, they're not unwrapped. I'm just trying to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, they're good.
They're really good. Supporting healthy blood pressure comes with a bonus. Super Beets Hard Chews supports healthy circulation as well. So you not only get the blood pressure support, you also get productive, heart healthy energy without the crash. Double your potential with Super Beet Hard Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beet Hard Chews and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using promo code Sara. That's SARA. And hey, retired Delta Force takes Super Beets. I take Super Beets. You should take Super Beets too. I think it's great. You know, like they said, paired with a healthy lifestyle, it adds, and I want to live a long and healthy life. Get Super Beets, BEETS.com, code Sara, SARA. So let's break down what happened. Here is an article from the New York Post, and I want to kind of read this part to you, babe, and then I kind of want to get your assessment of it. The Biden administration admitted Thursday that it had accidentally outed the identities of several U.S. special operators working to help Israel find and rescue hostages taken by Hamas terrorists. Now, just so I could set it up for you, they were standing with the president, getting the, handshake. It was the, photo op moment that probably should have been left somewhere in a White House classified album for future presidents, but unfortunately it was in front of the whole world. The White House posted the photo of its official Instagram site of President Biden shaking the hand of a member of this elite counterterrorism unit. Along with the service member, Biden was greeting. The faces of 3 other Delta Force fighters could be seen in the photo. So it was like 4 guys. Yeah. The soldier shaking hands with Biden also revealed a distinctive set of tattoos on his right arm because he had his sleeve up. So I don't know if he'll have to get those removed now. The revealing photograph was set up for approximately an hour before officials were made aware of the problem. A White House spokesperson told the New York Post. Why do Delta Force and other special operators need to have their identity protected? Just so people understand.
I guess what it comes down to is, Delta Force takes pride in being a quiet professional. That means we do our job. We don't look for any kind of aggrandizement, and that protects us. It protects our families. For this to happen, this is exactly what they tell us not to do, and it's totally for the Biden administration's own aggrandizement. Hey, look at me, look what I'm doing.
Do you think this was like maybe just some idiot leaked this picture purposefully? In a way to kind of give Biden pump him up because his numbers are so down across the board. I don't know.
I could make an assumption, but I don't know. Is it for, showing he's doing something? Well, you can be the judge of that.
He could have they could have taken the faces and just blurred him out and blurred out the tattoos on the guy's arm.
Yeah, maybe they just suck at doing their job as far as staffers. I don't know, but it shouldn't have happened. When you go into Delta Force, the first thing they'll tell you is, hey, you got to live a life that is quiet and away from the spotlight. And then they pull them in and do exactly to them what they say don't do. And the biggest reason is the danger it provides to the operators and the family.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, if somebody sees the picture, let's break this down because this is not a secret, right? Spy games are not really secret. David Ignatius writes about them. We see TV shows all the time, like Homeland, 24, it's like that intriguing life, behind the scenes, like everybody wants to know what's going on, and do things like this really happen, these targeted operations. But let's talk about exposing someone's face. So let's say somebody's face, which it was, exposed for an hour. Adversaries can run facial recognition, right? Yeah. They can go on Facebook and look for those names. They can look for anything that leaks like in social media, like a kid posts a picture of their dad by accident on Instagram or on Facebook, or their mother, and then they know the name to the face or the name to the family. And now all of a sudden, the Chinese military or the Chinese, pseudo CIA, their intelligence operators now have a face to the family, a family and their location where they live. And that becomes very dangerous, whether that's Russia, whether that's a terrorist, right?
Or whether that's some POS Hamas supporter in the United States at some rally that thinks they want to take things and go the next step.
That's
I
right.
mean, one of our kids called us, I don't know, a year ago, said, "Hey, Dad, I just found a picture of you on the internet." And he described the picture, and it had popped up because of facial recognition, I guess. I mean, there's so much to it that should not have happened, and there's no reason that it did.
Right. And then about how dangerous that could be for the family and for the children. I mean, there's issues such as kidnappings. There's issues such as overseas assignments, right? Where people aren't home or where people live in other places and then their families are exposed. I mean, these are all possibilities, and you can't just sweep that under the rug. It can't just be a mea culpa. I mean, what happens now to these operators whose faces were exposed in tattoos? I don't know. What happens to them?
Well, they're going to continue operations as they do. But, just think about it. I mean, what is terrorism? Terrorism is doing these horrific events in order to get a reaction. And that's exactly what a possibility could be. I mean,
they're going to just have to take all kinds of precautions now.
Just like with SEAL Team 6 after the bin Laden raid.
Right.
There was threats against them in local eating establishments, in local hangouts. Everybody knows where ST6 is at, or you can find out within 2 seconds on the internet. Well, it's the same way with Delta Force. Everybody knows where they hang out. And now you've got identities. And if somebody tried to make an example in a terrorist action, okay, that brings a threat to them that should not be there and is only there because of this administration's lack of following the rules that they subject us to. And that's the problem, is because when you ask somebody to put everything on the line, to go in there and do what nobody else can or will do, you've got to have assurances. And that's their job, is to give those assurances that they will protect you with the utmost of their ability. And then to just stupidly put out there information like this only emboldens and helps the enemy. It doesn't help any of the special operators. It doesn't help any American.
It doesn't help their families either, who are now terrified that their husbands have been exposed and their children who are going to school.
Completely unnecessarily. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Let me ask you this question. So one of the my husband has no tattoos, so you won't be able to identify him anywhere except for his glasses, which he wears because he feels more comfortable in them right now. So that's his identifier right there, are his Terminator glasses, which make me laugh sometimes, because when we go, and especially when Marty was first blinded, when we would go to a bar or something, like people think like you're wearing those glasses just to be cool. Like they think you're trying to be a tough guy. Like, yeah, look at that tough guy walking around. And then they say something, and then you're like, well, yeah, I'm blind. Like I lost my eyesight. Like, you're wearing your sunglasses at night, huh? I mean, I know you don't care, but I think that's kind of funny. But I'm asking you, I wanted to bring that up to ask you this question. I'd like segued there into a funny, but like, you don't have any tattoos. Like, what is it now with can special operators just have tattoos? I guess it doesn't matter, right?
You can. I mean, I guess, it comes down to you hide obviously in the garden of the many. Mm-hmm. People have so many tattoos now. Heck, I'm probably the abnormal person not having any, but that's the way it was.
Look for the guy without the tattoos. Yeah. And that's the guy. Look for the guy without the tattoos. But but I guess once those tattoos are out there publicly, maybe you have to get them like erased or changed.
I mean, that's a personal decision.
Right.
If you think it gives the enemy a possibility of coming back on you, then that's a decision you've got to make.
So let's talk about that really quick before I move any further into this. What about China? What about Russia? What about nations that have extraordinary technological capabilities at, I mean, that's something that we're always afraid of. I mean, we don't want people to get access to blood samples. I mean, I know, I blew it. 23andMe. I'm 23andMe, everybody's got my blood. Thanks world. Not that anybody cares about me, but whatever. But what about blood samples, photographs, identifiers? I mean, it's a different world that we live in. You can't be as clandestine as I would imagine you would want to be in this day and age. And you would have to take extraordinary precautions to be clandestine.
Well, for sure. And, nobody can be as invisible as they want to be. Of course, there's so many that don't want to be invisible that are out there constantly. But
are you talking about the Navy SEALs?
Yeah, I'm just anybody in general that puts themselves
I think
out
that
there.
was a low blow to the Navy SEAls.
No, I'm sure they got a lot out of writing all their books.
What I mean?
Somebody's got to fill those bookshelves.
See what I mean? He's like, that's a low blow, Navy SEAls. I mean, it took me forever to get him to come on the podcast. Like, I have to beg. Like, I have to go, please, you've been retired for a while now. Let's do this. Let's talk about this. It's so important. But if I asked a SEAL, what do you think would happen? It would be immediate. Would it be immediate? Yes.
Oh,
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, who knows? That's their decision.
I'm trying to give you I'm trying to give you a chance.
I don't need to beat up on them. They beat up on themselves. I love Navy SEALs.
I know. I'll be back in a second. But first, I want to thank Donors Trust. Thank you, Donors Trust, for being a supporter of my podcast, The Sara Carter Show. And according to a recent Fidelity Charitable report, remember Fidelity Charitable through work, Planned Parenthood was the 6th most popular nonprofit among Fidelity Charitable account holders last year. I couldn't believe that, babe. That was crazy. 6th out of nearly 200,000 unique charities. Does that upset you?
Well, yeah. Planned Parenthood is just a code name for I support abortion.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I don't. But
right.
That's what it's a code name for, is abortion support.
Well, I know. And it's so crazy. The good news is that if you have a Fidelity charitable giving account, it's not too late that you can roll over your charitable dollars over to a giving account provider that actually shares your values. And I think this is the most important thing. Visit donorstrust.org/Sara to learn more. That's donorstrust.org/Sara to learn more. Request an info packet and you will receive a free copy of their donor prospectus. Guys, get in control of the money that you are donating. Roll over your giving to Donors Trust so you can actually help expectant mothers and families in crisis. Visit donorstrust.org/Sara to receive your free copy of their donors prospectus. That's donorstrust.org/Sara, S-A-R-A, to discover how you can use a giving account and help expectant mothers in your community. Simplify, increase, and protect your donations with Donors Trust. Go to donorstrust.org/Sara, S-A-R-A. So let me ask you this. How do you think you would feel if you were one of the guys in those photos and that happened to you?
I think I'd feel betrayed through stupidity, because that's what it comes down to, is you do your best to follow the rules and you've got somebody else that's doing what they think is best for them, breaking the very rules they give you.
Yeah, without any concern for your safety or the safety of your family.
Absolutely.
And and then you think about it, it's like Corinne Jean-Pierre, right? She's the press secretary, right? She's the press secretary for the White House. You would think that there would be a briefing with all of the people that work underneath her saying, make sure that anything that is taken, any picture, anything that happens today stays secured, does not go out into the public. This is only for President Biden. It is not meant for public consumption. It is meant for historical perspective. But none of that happened.
Well, this was
and in 1 hour, it took 1 hour. It wasn't like 1 minute.
I guarantee you, it was a White House staffer that took that picture. It wasn't a photographer brought along with Delta Force.
Oh, absolutely not.
So she shouldn't even have to tell them the rules. They know the rules. That's part of their job. And the fact that they chose to send that out either makes them completely inept, or they do it because they want to provide Biden with some kind of, hey, I support the war effort thing. But,
in the end, nothing good comes out of this.
No, look at the fruit they produce, not the words they say.
Right. Exactly. See why I married him? Look at what they're producing, not what they're saying. And everything is going in the wrong direction, guys. We're in wars all over the world. We have problems in our nation. We see people in our country that are not putting our nation first, but instead importing their hate and anti-Semitism. We see the rise of that in our streets. I can't even believe, Marty and I talk about this all the time. We cannot believe how much the world has changed in the last 4 years, more than anything you could ever imagine. And in the last decade, even it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Is there anything though that these operators can do now and their families to help protect themselves?
Well, you continue to take personal protective measures, and anything you put out there makes it easier to make you the low-hanging fruit. You don't want
so
to be
they shouldn't have
fruit.
Like massive social media presence or any connection.
What?
Even if their kids do, they should have no connection to their families and what they do. And that's got to be the hard part. What about the kids? Like,
if you're in
kids,
love with
you tell them, I don't want you to be on TikTok. And they're just like, whatever. They're like doing the TikTok on I sounded New York right there. That's because I've been in New York too much this year.
Derek Malt too much.
Derek Maltz. I love him, man. I miss him. We got to get him on the show with you. That'd be fun. We've covered the war. And I think Americans, thankfully, have not been exposed to as much as like normal Americans as you and I have, right? We've been exposed to a lot. Probably not. To a lot of really crazy stuff and really dangerous things. And, when you see how precious everything is, right, babe? Our freedom is so precious and so fleeting. And when our leadership fails to protect its most special operators, fails to protect its nation and its people from these evil entities, that's pretty scary stuff. When you think about it, when we have no protection really, and we're fighting against an enemy that is formidable, that puts us at risk.
Well, yeah, they are a dangerous enemy and they do have capabilities. So we need to quit shooting ourselves in our own foot and address the enemy instead of the back and forth bickering, stupid, silly crap that
we're watching on Capitol Hill.
That we observed the other day. Oh, yeah, Capitol Hill.
Hi, everybody. 10 o'clock sometime now. Jim Jordan, others voting for House Speaker. Hello, wake up. We have an enemy out there that wants to take us down. And we need to get our act together. We really do need to get our crap together. What do you think?
I totally agree. And I'll tell you, the enemy at the gate is the most dangerous. We can't just ignore that. And like you got into Border 911 and it's complete travesty that we have left ourselves not only unprotected, but we've invited too many of the enemy inside. And you think they don't take advantage of it? They totally will.
Absolutely. And we know that. There was a thought that ran through my head before we close this up, and then I'll leave the last word to you. I was thinking about that, how naive so many people are. We're so naive because we're good people. We don't believe we wouldn't do it. I don't think any of us or any of the listeners, any of you out there listening to my husband and I right now, any of you would do or commit the atrocities that we saw happen in Israel across their border. None of us could even imagine being that evil. None of us could imagine doing what they did to children. And the more I hear about the stories, or to adults or to young teenage girls, the more I hear these stories of horror. It's like listening to a horror film. Like my husband and I can't even hear it sometimes. You don't even want me to talk about it sometimes. It's so much because you can't imagine it. But we've left our border wide open. And I was thinking about this in Afghanistan, right? I remember there were so many contractors and people that work there, and you become friends with people. And Marty and I have friends, Afghan friends, people that we've helped bring to the United States, that worked for us, that loved us, that would put everything on the line, that are true Americans. But sometimes you don't know who the enemy really is. Sometimes the enemy can betray you, can act like they're your friend. And I remember this story about two contractors in Afghanistan that were getting ready to head home. They were super excited. They were at an event, like an award ceremony somewhere in Kabul. And one of the people that worked on the base, this was a green on blue incident, that worked on the base that they liked, that they thought was somebody who just worked there and was a friend of theirs, an Afghan villager, came to say goodbye to them. And they were excited to see him. They were getting ready to go on the plane. So they ran over to him to say goodbye. And the man detonated his vest and killed both of these American contractors. I mean, that happened more than once. What I'm saying is, sometimes we're very naive. Sometimes we think the way we think other people think the way we do, and they don't, right?
Yeah. I mean, whether it's, and I'll tell you, we love some of our Afghan friends. They did a lot for us. And even when one in particular was coming back and he was telling us, hey, I'm in this camp. And I can't remember, where was he, in Kuwait at the time?
Yeah.
And he said, there's a lot of bad people here. And he was referring to the Afghans.
Yeah, he was referring to the ones that were on the plane with him that were pulled out. He's like, there's a lot of bad people here. What am I supposed to do?
Who do I tell about this?
And we had to put someone on the phone with us, a U.S. military personnel, and say, you really need to listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He is a good man. He and his wife and his baby are there. You need to listen to him because he knows. Yeah, remember what that guy said to us? He said, I can't do anything about this. I can report it, but really we're overwhelmed right now.
Yeah. So we're just going to give all these folks a ride into the United States, which we agree with a lot of them. But because of the ineptitude of the whole evacuation sequence that took place,
Biden
it
exposed our nation to these threats. And
Absolutely.
now our special operators are exposed to threats. The threat is here, guys. The threat is in the United States of America. It's literally here. Like our operators, my husband, when I covered the war, or my husband and all of his friends and all of our U.S. military forces and everybody who did their job to protect this country so that the war would not be here. I mean, those efforts. What are those efforts if the White House opens the southern gate and just lets every enemy in? Come and have dinner with us, enemy.
Well, they'll
come
say
into our
better
home.
To fight them there than fight them here. And we're continuously beating ourselves up and doing it the wrong way. And I just wonder when it's going to stop. I guess never.
I don't know.
Unless people
wake up.
Yeah.
They got to wake up. We got to wake up. There's nothing wrong with protecting your family and protecting your friends and protecting your nation. There is nothing wrong with that, right, babe?
Which is what we're here for today, is trying to get people to seeing the dangers that we're opening ourselves up to sometimes. And this Biden was just the last example of that.
Yeah. He's just opening up those dangers.
I'm sure we watch the news today and there will be a new example of it.
Another example of Biden being an idiot. Okay, thank you so much for listening to the show and being a part of the Sara Carter Show. FBI, if you're listening, thank you so much. You know how much I love you guys, especially when you have made Americans the domestic extremists and not the terrorists. That's just so upside down land. I can't even begin to describe what's going on here. But hey, it's a new world. We'll see what happens. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show here on your favorite podcast app. It really helps. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless my husband and all the men and women in our military and our Tier 1 forces and their families and their children who are doing the job so that we can be safe despite all the idiots in Washington. God bless our special operators. God bless all of those who defend our nation. Please pray for them. Pray for them every single day. And guess what? God bless the great state of Israel, and pray for her recovery and healing, and pray that Hamas pays the biggest price known to man. Thank you.